I'm going to read my own statement here. I come from a Holocaust family. My father, Fred, didn't leave Germany until 1938. Remember that Hitler came to power in 1933. He barely made it out. Even though he grew up in Munich and watched the Nazis rise before his eyes, he didn't believe that things could get so bad. His friends and school classmates and sports club friends were all non-Jews. They were not anti-Semitic, nor were most Germans. He insisted on that repeatedly. But people failed to act decisively when they still could. Then the Aryan supremacists, the core of the Nazi social base, got the upper hand. Those who opposed Hitler, who had the potential to stop the march to full-out fascism, failed to realize the extent of the danger. Progressive organizations were repressed, especially after the Reichstag fire. That was in March of 1933. And fear and paralysis took hold fairly quickly. But even then, people held illusions because things did not proceed in a straight line. Periods of ugly repression were followed by periods when things seemed to normalize. But then new rounds of repression began. In 1935, a cousin of my father was arrested and charged with the crime, which had only become a crime in 1933, of having sexual relations with a non-Jewish woman. The trial became headline news in Germany. Yet more proof, Germans were told, of the criminal nature of Jews and the danger they represented to the German people. This cousin, whose name was Benno Holzer, was imprisoned and did not survive. In the fall of 1938, a few months after my father left Germany, Jews of Polish origin, some immigrants, some German-born, were expelled from Germany. They were stuck in the frigid weather on the German-Polish border without shelter or food. The son of one of those families, Herschel Grinspan, was in Paris at the time. Angry and distraught, he got a gun and he shot the German consulate. Nazi leaders were in Munich for their annual celebration of the 1923 beer hall Putsch when word of the shooting came in. Joseph Goebbels, the Steve Bannon or Jeff Sessions of his day, got on the phone to Nazi leaders across Germany. The Nazi media blared their denunciations of Jewish crime. This was the excuse they were waiting for. The next day, throughout Germany, synagogues burned, Jewish businesses were trashed, hundreds of Jews were killed, 30,000 Jewish men were rounded up and sent to concentration camps, among them my grandfather. He spent several months being abused and terrorized in Dachau. After Kristallnacht, the night of the broken glass, laws were enacted to destroy the economic, social, and cultural life of Jews. 3 years later, at a Nazi conference in Wannsee, the systematic extermination of Jews was planned. My grandparents, Benno and Anna, were arrested in April 1942. In the late summer of that year, my grandfather was executed in Berlin, and my grandmother was sent to a concentration camp in Belarus and died suffocated in a truck on the way there. Adolf Eichman was at Wannsee where the Holocaust was planned, was charged with organizing the transport of Jews to the death camps. This was in the 1960s. He'd proven himself willing to carry out policies in all stages of the persecution of Jews, gypsies, LGBTQ people, immigrants, and other targeted people. At his trial in 1962, Eichman declared he just carried out orders. But the Holocaust could not have succeeded without such people.